Ryan Bates is getting re-signed by the Buffalo Bills as they match his offer. Question on the table today: did Ryan Poles bomb in free agency in his first year? Let's talk about it starting now. Now, if you are new to the channel, please like the video. Please subscribe to the page because we do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel. We don't want y'all to miss a thing, so make sure that you hit that bell. This is the only channel that's talking Chicago sports, how Chicago talks. So make sure that you get in tune with us, man. Unfortunately, Ryan Bates will not be a Chicago Bear this offseason. The Bills took their sweet time re-signing him, but they do match the contract for Ryan Bates. And so the Bears are left with a hole at their offensive line position. So the question on the table today: did Ryan Poles bomb in free agency? Or, caveat to the question, is there something to be said for not overpaying for subpar talent? Your thoughts?
All right, so listen, gloves coming off. Love the fact that we got, Ryan Poles in there doing this thing. Unfortunately, I think he's still making some of the same mistakes that we've kind of been existing with for the last umpteen years, right? Yeah. So since I've been involved with doing this with you, we've always had some criticism on how we draft, how we don't like to spend the money in the right positions and stuff like that. And then when we finally did get somebody, he paid the wrong people, paid some people on the defensive end. Offense didn't kind of shape up. I really think that was a coaching issue, but it is what it is. When it comes to this right now, I love the fact that he says, hey, we're going to build through the draft and stuff like that. But the whole concept of not paying for subpar talent, guess what? Subpar talent is about to get paid. We saw somebody who barely cracked 1,000 yards get starting. Guess what? That's the bottom of the market now for most receivers. We see a lot of people going to get the bag. Guess what? When deals like that happen and you have people with comparable numbers, guess what? That's now where negotiations start. By taking the approach of not paying for subpar talent, you're rolling the dice on unproven talent.
Yeah.
You can't have both, right? Justin Fields is in a situation where, you know what? You have to put some protection around him. Pringle does not give him that protection. Tevin Jenkins, unfortunately, didn't play nothing but a quarter of his first season. I love the grit. I love all of that stuff. I'm happy that he's here. I'm happy that he has Justin's back. But guess what? He has a long history of back issues himself, pun intended. So at this point, where do we shear up that line for Justin? Where do we get the veteran come in and do something like that? Bates was not the best or the most. No, he wasn't the best available offensive tackle. I think that was Armstead, right?
Yep.
But he was one of the, as far as those available, he was top 3, if not 2.
And this is the thing, right? This is, it's not specifically the Ryan Bates situation, right? Like Ryan Bates is staying in Buffalo because Buffalo matched his deal, right? Like that has nothing to do with Ryan Poles not going after the guy, not getting the guy, not like he gave him a contract. They have the option to keep him. The question mark comes in with guys like the Bears brought in Terron Armstead. They talked with Terron Armstead. He ends up signing in Miami for the bag, by the way.
For the bag.
and the reason that I say the caveat to it, did Poles bomb his first free agency, is because you have to ask yourself if paying for the I don't want to say subpar, that's not disrespectful. Paying star money to non-star players, while that may be the market, is the best thing for where your team is now, or is finding that star the better situation for you to be in? Because right now, listen, if you're paying $85 million and you feel like, which I don't know how Miami feels this way, that you got the quarterback position figured out and you've got 2-star wide receivers in Waddle and Tyreek Hill, and all you need to do is protect your quarterback for him to go out there, then yeah, you do throw a bag at that left tackle. The problem is in Chicago, we don't know if we have any of that. Now, do I feel like you had to get somebody in front of Justin to protect him? Yes. But I also feel like last season's blocking scheme was garbage. Last season, you had a 40-year-old left tackle trying to stand in front of Justin Field and keep Myles Garrett off his back. That's garbage. Not to disrespect anything Jason Peters did. You can come here anytime. I'm scared of you. You're a large man. Anyway,
he's past his prime.
He's past his prime.
He's past his prime.
Garrett
he's an older
26.
guy.
He's 40. Myles Garrett is 26. You know what I'm saying? So like, I look at that situation where you're looking at players who maybe can become that star. You're hoping Tevin Jenkins can become that star. You're hoping Justin Fields can become that star. And this was really a move to get the youth on that line with a little bit of veteran experience. You got Lucas Patrick. You were hoping to have Ryan Bates here. You've got Larry Borum. You've got Tevin Jenkins. That's a line that can stand in front of Justin Fields for 5 to 6 years. That's what you were hoping for. You don't get that. And I don't know if missing out on not paying, like who are we really mad about? Maybe Armstead, maybe Juju Smith-Schuster.
I'm mad at the fact that we didn't go for another receiver. Because it's one thing it's two things. He needs some targets. He needs people to throw to.
He does. I agree.
And he needs people to protect him. And so if we come into this offseason knowing that those are the two things that we need to share up, I don't know if Pringle does it, but I know Juju to me has the more ability than Pringle. I just does. Maybe he wasn't utilized right in KC. That's kind of hard to say because he had Patrick Mahomes.
And in Pittsburgh.
Well, Pringle was
Oh, you talking about Pringle? I thought you were talking about Juju.
No, Juju. But still, regardless, this receiver class, this draft class has a lot of receivers. Like you said, you go pretty deep. Poles is supposedly really good at that part. So I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt on that. But when it comes to that offensive line, no, we needed to spend the money on that line. Yeah. We needed to get that line.
And the question mark for me comes in with Armstead health. Armstead has played 17 games in the last 2 years. He got a lot of money for a guy that's played 17 games in the last 2 years. You have that situation here already.
True.
We've got Tevin Jenkins, who's had back injuries for the last 2 years. Now, the difference is Terron Armstead's proven. I know he can play football. I know he can play left tackle in this NFL. I know if we needed him to, he can play right tackle in this NFL. So you have that proven commodity that, yes, you're spending the money on. When it's healthy, it can do things. But how many times have we had that moment where we've paid money for something that when it's healthy, it's great, but it isn't healthy? And I think that's the part where I'll give Poles a little bit of flexibility. Now, of course, we're just talking about free agency. He can still do a lot in the draft. He can still do a lot in free agency, to be honest with you. Like, there's a ton of money left now. But I'm looking at the situation with Poles as you've had 2 names now that you went for. One resigns, one fails a physical.
He can't do anything about that part, though. That part, I give him. He can't do anything about that.
Things out of his hand is what I'm saying, right? Two things that are out of his hands. Like, he went for it. He spent $40 million on a dude that we were like, yeah, when he was on the field, he was a monster.
Yeah.
Fails his physical. He was going to give the bag to Ryan Bates.
Yeah.
Resigns in Buffalo. Like, there's going to be some people who are going to come out here and say that Ryan Poles missed in his first free agency, didn't go after the big name, but like, really, who was the big name that we're upset that Ryan Poles missed on? I'm not gonna lie, I don't think that you came back with a lot of great names. I'm really hoping Byron Pringle does turn into something. His catch percentage was about 70% out in Kansas City when he started getting more targets. He's a guy with good hands. He's a guy that has big playability. He's a guy that when he catches the ball, he can do a lot with it. You were optioned like 17 on that team.
Right. You're not gonna be option 15 on the Bears.
Pat Mahomes throwing to himself was an option before Byron Pringle was an option. So, like, right. I'll ask you this, right? With what was out there, did Ryan Pace miss based on the fact that realistically, he went for 2 names and things that are outside of his control happened? Ryan Poles. Y'all know who I'm talking about.
Ryan Poles. Hey, listen, it's the one thing I'm not going to do is kill you for that one because it's George's fault. He hired someone who has the exact same name. I mean, it's so eerie, right?
Hey,
so
the one thing we'll never say is Matt Nagy. You'll never get that
mixed up. Because it's Matty E. We're not getting Nagy confused with E right there. Not at all. Eberflus. But no, I'll say this. when you put it in full context, no, I can't say he missed, right?
Yeah.
But as fans, that's going to be the storyline. He went out for it, didn't get it done. If we killed Ryan Pace for it, which we did, Ryan Pace put up some Hail Marys, didn't get it done, and we gave him flack for it. I mean, Pose is no different.
Now they signed with us though. That's the problem with Pace.
We
put up some Hail Marys and they were on the team.
I still stand behind some of the moves he made. I think that the roster that we put together the last couple of seasons was absolutely. I just think it was mismanaged. We had the talent, we really do. But now seeing that we do need to give Justin Fields, like, two things has to happen. Justin Fields has to develop. That ball has to come out quicker. He has to be more decisive. He can't hold on to it like he did in college. And we saw some of those clips. He held on to that bad boy a lot. He can't do that in the league. So you need to give him time. So Lucas Patrick being that, second, they call it the second most cerebral position in football, being a center.
Center, for sure, yeah.
Getting that there, I think that's a big win. That helps Justin. Getting the right QB coaches in there, that's a win. I can't say he missed on those things. As far as roster is concerned, depends on what he does in the draft. As far as big names going out, to just directly answer your question, you can't do anything about Baker signing. That's true. If they match the bag, they match the bag. He knows he's in a winning situation there. They're in a much better position than the Bears are. They just are. That's the facts. You can't do anything about that physical. That's true. I give you that. But the whole concept of not willing to spend the money, which we've kind of heard, not trying to overpay, I don't like that approach. I don't like that approach at all, because the league is changing. Yeah. The league is changing. So I hope that this is a situation where what he's good at, he continues to excel at, drafting and things of that nature. But I hope that he gets over the fact that you're going to have to spend the money, because DK Metcalf, from what the numbers look like, isn't a superstar receiver. But I absolutely would be in talks to get him. I absolutely think. Now, could he? I don't know.
That would be a trade, though. You would have to trade for DK. DK ain't a free agent yet.
Absolutely, you'd have to trade for him. But that's the thing. When you look at what do you consider overpaying? What do you consider undervalued? What do you consider that? Because based off of some productions, some people, based off their situation and scheme, just didn't give you the numbers.
Yeah,
Allen Robinson, based off the situation and scheme, is considered the elite receiver by some. I don't know why, but he's considered the elite receiver by some. He's had those moments, but to us, he didn't get no separation.
Yeah.
So would you take Allen Robinson?
It's gonna be interesting to see, because you lose out on these names this year, and so it turns into the long play game with it. So for free agency, can we say he bombed free agency? We'll 50, see halfway through the season. Maybe I mean, because free agency is specifically bringing in people to sign them. Maybe he did, but also he's coming into a situation where, why would anybody want to be here? We're fans. We barely want to be here sometimes. I'm gonna be real with you.
Now here's the add to that, not to extend this more than it needs to be, but considering who we let go and what we got back, is it considered bombing for that? Because we got rid of some people who we didn't expect to get rid of. Yeah.
I think, hey, listen, that plays into it for me, right? Mm-hmm. Does he win it based on the fact that you cleared Khalil Mack's contract, which literally coming into this season, nobody thought was going to be cleared. Nobody would have ever imagined Khalil Mack's contract would have been able to get moved. That is a win in his book. Now, it's tough from the fan point. I love Khalil Mack. I wanted to see him on his Bears team. I wanted to see him on his Bears team when they win. Realistically, I know he's not going to be here when they win. Now we know it for sure. But I know he's not going to, age isn't going to allow him to be as dominant as he was when they win. And so maybe they're taking the year early versus year late approach. But that's absolutely a win for Ryan Poles, that he got San Diego to take all of that money remaining on that contract. So to me, the thing that I'm looking at in this free agency is more, did you get Justin the help he needs? And that might not even be a free agency thing. That might honestly be hey, we've got smart people in the building that are going to teach the players that are here. They might see that Tevin Jenkins can play, that Larry Borum can play health willing, right? And that these guys are your tackles of the future. And that if we put a real offensive scheme in place, they're going to be better. Like they might see those things that we don't see. I think the fear for us is you got a guy on the left side that's a young guy, and you've got Justin, who's a young guy. You'd like to have some veteran experience there. But to me, I think you have to look at this in a situation of, is every move he made on him, we can't say that it is. A lot of guys went back the other way. And the moves that he did make, did they make the Bears better?
So what do you rank him? What if you had to give him a grade so far, which is unfair because I don't, I want to put that in for, it's unfair to judge the entire offseason by today.
Yeah.
But how would you judge it so far if you had
B minus, missing out on Bates, missing out on Ogunjobi. It leaves a lot of holes on your team, but you had a lot of holes on your team. You created another hole by getting rid of Khalil Mack, but you also created a hole in your money for next season where, hey, guess what? Maybe we are bad this year, but next year we can go out and we can buy the world. And Justin Fields is a really good quarterback. That's what you're hoping for.
I give it a C simply because Justin doesn't have too many seasons in which he's going to be given the same leeway. You look at how Cleveland did with Baker, and I'm not saying that the Bears are like that, but look at what happened with Baker. Baker had some up and down seasons, but he went through 4 head coaches, 4 different schemes. Like, he went through a lot of change. Now, he had his own issues, don't get me wrong, and that's separate. But as far as the situations and how the chips were stacked against him, he had no stability there. And they're already moving away from him. Now, mind you, they got Deshaun Watson. I think the world was in on Deshaun Watson. Don't get me wrong. 22 cases or not, he's a proven QB.
Everybody wanted that.
Everybody wanted. We wanted him here, right? Justin Fields for Deshaun Watson, heartbeat. It's nothing against Justin.
Yeah.
But now we put Justin in a situation where he's in his second year, going into a team that may be subpar because we've unloaded everything. We may, most people are like very iffy on what the season looks like. We hope he does well, but if he doesn't, especially because the protection and stuff is not there, it's going to be hard to grade him. We're going to eventually come up on those talks of whether or not we extend him or things of that nature. This kind of impacts the future for him. And as someone who wants to see him do well, that's what I'm concerned about. Like, if we're going in all in on betting around him being our guy, are we putting him in the right situation to be the guy? And outside of Lucas Patrick and stealing half of Green Bay, I guess that's a win. But I really, how does that translate on the field? I can't wait till later in this year to really find out. But that's what my concern is, because I want Justin to be in a better situation than Mitchell Trubisky was, and Baker was, and stuff like that. I want him to have a real solid opportunity to prove that he has it.
Hey, man, we appreciate y'all for tuning in and rocking with us. We want to know how you guys feel, man. In the comments below, hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a comment down below. We'll be down there talking with you as well. Do you believe that Ryan Poles bombed in his first free agency? Or do you think that he was smart with his spending? I'll be down there talking with you as well. As always, it's your boy, Pat the Designer, joined by the pettiest man alive, Mr. P.Kidd, in the building. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at Pat the Designer, at 1P Kid. Hey, yo, Chicago, y'all stay safe out there, man. Peace.